All right. Hello, everybody. We are just at the top of the hour, so I figure we can go ahead and get started. If you are here, welcome to our online Masters in Organizational Leadership Program Information session. I am so happy you are here. So, a little bit about our agenda for today. We're going to do a little introduction about your presenters today, and then dive right into our program format for our Masters in Organizational Leadership. After that, we're going to go into our curriculum highlights and then go into our application checklist so we can make sure that you have everything you need to be successful in your application to this program. Finally, we will have a live Q&A at the end. So if you would like to submit any of your questions into the Q&A feature that's at the bottom of your screen, feel free to do that. And then we'll answer all of the questions at the end of our webinar. So I will go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Chloe Adams. I am the Admissions and Program Coordinator for online programs. Melanie, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself as well?
Sure. I am the graduate coordinator for the program, so I will be your point of contact as you navigate the application process. And then once you submit your application, then I would give your information to Chloe to assist you.
Great. And Ed, do you want to introduce yourself as well?
I am, although we have a bigger slide coming up. I'm Ed Barrows. I'm the academic director for the Online Masters of Organizational Leadership, and I'm also a professor of the practice here at Brown.
Perfect. So Ed, while we have you, I'm going to go ahead and have you brag on yourself just a little bit. We are so lucky to have you as part of our program. Do you want to speak a little bit about yourself?
Yes,
Your
thank
experience?
you very much, Chloe. It's kind of you to say. So again, I'm Ed Barrows. I am a professor of the practice of leadership. So I've been here at Brown for just under 2 years. Prior to coming to Brown, I taught at Harvard Division of Continuing Education and was a manager director at Duke Corporate Education for about 6 years, where I developed and led programs for large global clients and high potential programs for emerging leaders in organizations. I've also worked in management consulting and public accounting for a number of years. So at Brown, I teach a couple of different courses. I teach professional development in our Master's of Science of Healthcare Leadership and Technology Leadership. And I also teach ethical leadership, which we'll be teaching starting next week to our new cohort of Brown IE MBAs. So it's delightful to be here with you. Hopefully this will be informative and we'll answer any questions you have regarding the program, which we're really, really excited about.
Yeah, Ed, we're lucky to have you. So I'm going to go in a little bit, just very surface level of our program format. So this program is 100% online. We do have an optional 3-day in-person session. So if that's something that interests you, you definitely have the opportunity for that as well. We do have weekly optional synchronous sessions online as well. So if you want to meet with your professor, that is definitely an opportunity that you have. We're looking at 4 consecutive semesters for 16 total months, and that's going to be 8 total courses. So around 2 courses per month, per semester, sorry, for 16 total months. The cost of tuition is going to be $56.25 per course, again, for 2 courses per semester, but we do have up to 50% merit-based scholarships available, and those are first come, first serve and decided upon at the time that your application is read. So the sooner you get your application in, the sooner the committee can evaluate you for your scholarships. All right, a little bit about the curriculum highlights. I'm going to pass this back over to Ed to talk about why organizational leadership, why this program. Ed?
Yeah, thank you so much. So if you really think about it, it's a great question. Why would you come and get a master's degree in organizational leadership? There's a few important reasons. Organizations today have never had a greater need for leaders at all levels. And an interesting thing we're seeing, I've been doing a little bit of research on this for an article that's coming out for the Society of Organizational Industrial Psychologists, is we're seeing earlier career people moving into positions of leadership much earlier than they would normally be expected to. Consequently, we want to make sure that leaders in these roles have the skills they need, and it's really cross industry. So anyone who deals with people which is most people, and really is responsible for driving performance of an organization, you are the kind of person that would be inclined to come to the Masters in Organizational Leadership. Now, a little bit about the curriculum, as Chloe was saying, it's a real world curriculum. It's really designed to take advantage of the best of Brown from both a research standpoint, but also be very applied in nature through the project that we have. A lot of what I've done as the academic director with my colleagues is make sure that the program gives you an opportunity to apply leadership skills. Theory is very important so that we're actually working on things that have been tested and have been, not won't say proven, because none of the leadership theories that are out there work 100%, but we want to make sure that you get a chance to not just make yourself aware of the skills and the theories that are needed, but apply them in a hands-on project that you'll be working through. The format is very flexible. As Chloe was pointing out, there are online sessions you can have. There is a 3-day in-person session because people love to come to Brown. It's an amazing place. But it's generally designed, and we're building the course content now to be delivered at your convenience. So you can do a deeper dive when you need to, and a schedule that works for you to give you that 360-degree leadership focus that we talk about in our marketing materials. We have some fantastic faculty here at Brown from our undergraduate university. And I think what's really interesting about leadership is a discipline draws from the underlying disciplines where we have a great deal of capabilities in Brown. It draws from psychology. We draw from sociology. There's an element of it that's economics based. There's part of it around negotiation and conflict, which follows in the Watson Institute. There's all kind of research that's being carried out here at Brown that can be brought right into the classroom and online in this case. So we have faculty in a global network that was really, really relevant for people that want to get not only an Ivy League degree, but sort of connect with people that can help you advance in your career. And again, there's a lot of different diverse paths that people are on. You can be a coach, you could be an HR professional, you could be a chief learning officer, or you could work in a nonprofit or in management consulting or in a regular for-profit or even a nonprofit environment. So there's a broad applicability of things that you can come to the table and bring. And I think I'll talk a little bit more about that, what it is we'd like you to do when you submit your application here in a bit.
Perfect. Thank you, Ed. Do you want to talk a little bit about our standard course sequence so these students know what they can expect their 4 semesters?
Yeah, that's great. As Chloe was pointing out, it's 16 months. You can see that right at the top. So you take essentially 2 courses, not per month, per term. The first one that we're actually building right now is the one that I'm teaching for the MBA. There's ethical leadership, ethics, and professional integrity. And on top of that, we have a foundations of management leadership, so people can really get a grounding in what the difference between management leadership are and what they are collectively, as well as how to be an ethical leader in the workplace. Wouldn't be a leadership course in an organization if we didn't look at organizational behavior and development. How do leaders enact what they do inside organizations? And a lot of that is also done through teamwork and collaboration, both on the teams that you work on, as well as across organizational boundaries. Leaders are people that drive change in organizations. So in the 3rd semester, you'll see leading strategic change. Managing change is important, but that's really a mechanical side. Leading change is getting people to go along with change. How do we get them motivated to do that? Also, we can't talk about leadership without talking about politics, power, and negotiation within organizations. Power is very important, albeit sometimes people think sort of 4-letter word, but it's really important to understand what power is and how leaders can use it to good effect in organizations. We live in a world, you see in the last semester, which is replete with technology. Technology is literally changing how we do the job that we do day to day. So we as leaders have to understand, how do we work with technology, emerging technologies? How do we make it kind of part of our team? That's a big aspect that takes advantage, again, of what Brown is really good at in our computer science and engineering space. And then the capstone that gives you a chance to apply this and really build your skills as we would think about as an executive leader. So this is what we are looking for you to immerse yourself in and develop over the 16-month sequence. And we're pretty confident that you'll come out at the other end a much better leader.
Great. Thank you. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Melanie now so we can go over that application checklist so you have everything you need to submit a successful application. Mel?
Yes. So, firstly, you would need a bachelor's degree from an accredited institution. Next, you would need your resume that shows 3 years of full-time professional work experience. By the time you start classes, so let's say you have maybe 2.5 years now, but you will have 3 years by the start of spring semester, absolutely fine. If you have any questions as far as what would equate to professional work experience, we can definitely talk about that one-on-one. Next, we would need 3 letters of recommendation, one preferably being from a manager or supervisor, but ultimately 3 people that will speak very highly of you, your professionalism, and the impact that you can have within the program. Another thing to keep in mind with your letters of recommendation, while you're talking to your recommenders, just mention that, we do have kind of like a time constraint with their letters. So if they can do it within 2 weeks, great. If not, just have a backup on standby. Next, your personal statement. So that should be 1,500 words, just explaining what exactly are you looking for with this degree? Why Brown? Out of all of the universities, what can Brown do for you to reach the different short and long-term goals that you have? And then again, what do you plan on accomplishing once you have this degree? So what impact do you plan on having in society? Next, we would need your transcripts. So unofficial copies are perfectly fine for your application to be reviewed. But once you're admitted into the program, we will need official copies. So just keep that in mind. And then also for students who have attended universities outside of the United States, we will need transcript evaluations. And you can get that through WES, SpanTran, or ECE. Something else to keep in mind with the transcript evaluations, they do take a little bit of time, so definitely plan ahead for that. Next, for students whose native language is not English, we would also need a language proficiency evaluation. So unofficial evaluations will be accepted for your application to be reviewed, but once you're admitted into the program, we will need those official evaluations. So following all of these steps will have a completed application, and then you'll be ready for committee review. Another thing that I would keep in mind today is just by attending today, you do have an application fee waiver. So normally it is $100, but by attending, it's automatically waived. And then if you're not able to attend and you're watching this recording, applying by early action will automatically waive that fee as well.
Wonderful.
Great. All right. Our upcoming deadlines for our spring cohort, our very first cohort, the application is open. So if you are looking to start in the spring of 2026, the application is open. And like Mel was saying, that early action deadline will be July 15th. So that is coming up quicker than you realize. So definitely start that application, get your application in to meet that early action deadline. Our priority deadline for this program will be September 15th with a final deadline of October 15th. I know that seems like a long time away, but I promise it will sneak up on us faster than you know. And that semester will start on January 21st of 2026. For our second cohort, our fall 2026 cohort, the application will open September 15th of this year. So if you're waiting to enter in fall of 2026, that application will be available for you on September 15th. And then our early action deadline for that program or for that cohort will be March 15th of 2026. The priority deadline for fall 2026 will be May 15th with the final deadline of June 15th, 2026. And that semester will start September 3rd of 2026. So we are very, very close to all of these deadlines, it seems. All right, it is time for our live Q&A. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A feature below, and we will try to answer all of your questions that you have. So I'm going to give us just a minute to get those questions in. But if you don't have any questions or you think about any questions after we are off today, then feel free to reach us at onlinemasters_admissions@brown.edu. Another really great resource is our very own Melanie Du. You can make an appointment with her through the link that is on the screen, and she'll be able to answer any of your questions about your application. And before you apply, whenever you're going through your application, she is going to be really your number one resource when it comes to your application, when it comes to this program. After you submit your application, then I'm going to be your number one point of contact. So I cannot wait to see these submitted applications and to speak with you all. So let's see if we have any questions. I know we already have had a couple answered.
Let me jump in real quick.
Absolutely.
before we get any questions. I think one of the things that I've heard we often get questions around, so it might be worth discussing is, what should I put in my 1,500 word personal statement? And Melanie already talked about that, but just as the person that's going to be reviewing these, one of the things to keep in mind is we're really trying to get to know you. So what's your motivation for the program? Why do you want to do this? And I answer that big why, like any leader would. What is it about this program, and why are you doing it, and why now? It's good to think about your career goals, both short and long term. What are you trying to accomplish that this degree will help you accomplish? And as importantly, how have your past experiences, any other graduate work you've done, any type of work? And it's not uncommon for us to find people who have MBAs or other degrees, even law degrees, coming to sort of top up on some of the leadership skills that maybe they weren't exposed to. In the cohort that we just had recently for our Master of Healthcare Leadership, we have 5 doctors in the cohort. And a couple of them said to me, I just never got any of these leadership skills. So I really, I'm successful in my career as a surgeon or as a pediatric cardiologist, but I never had the chance to learn about leadership. And that's really what this degree is aimed at. And lastly, and I think Mel taught this or talked about this, like, why Brown? There's other programs out there, but what is it about Brown's sort of unique features that you think would be important to you? We definitely think Brown is unique, but what is it about the Brown experience and the Brown degree that you think will be important to you in your career? So again, just a sort of context for some of the most common questions that we get around, what should I include in my personal statement? Hopefully that helps.
Perfect. Thank you for elaborating on that, Ed. We do have a couple questions in, so I'm going to try to get those answered for these students. So I do have a question. For similar programs, do you have any data on jobs graduates have been able to get following completing the program? You have data on programs like this opening new doors or leading to promotions. Mel, Ed, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I can say initially that we don't have any alum data yet, as our first cohort will be spring of 26. But we do plan on our graduates having a few different opportunities, maybe in human resources. It can also be in consulting, as Ed mentioned earlier. You can also go into maybe learning and development. Those are a few different avenues. Ed, if you have anything else you want to add.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a great question. And I think, unfortunately, because the program is new, we can't speak to directly what one would expect to get out of the program in terms of a new job or in terms of a promotion. What I can say is this: we do have master's degree access for all the folks that are getting master's degree to career counseling. It's actually part of our overall master's degree positioning as Brown. So not just for this degree, but as well for other degrees. When we look at our MBA program, I think about 58% get a salary increase before they, right around the time they graduate. We see 60% of the people that get master's degrees in healthcare promoted to the VP or the C-suite position. And it's similar in technology. Our Master of Technology program, we see about 84% of the people getting promoted, promoted within about a year of graduation. And I think that speaks to the success that we've had with the different programs. But there's career counseling that's available. I work and do quite a bit of coaching with the students. I had a coaching call yesterday with one of my students for the Master of Technology program on, what to do about maybe a startup venture. So I think we have the luxury of working pretty closely with the cohort to make sure that your career aims are met. There's no guarantees for sure. But one of the things I found is people come here because the education is great. The Brown experience is fantastic. And it never hurts to have a Brown master's degree on your CV.
Great. Our next question is, how is the cohort model structured to promote community and peer engagement, especially in an online environment? And I will just say that students in these online programs do have full access to all of Brown's resources, such as the online library, student career services, student accessibility services, and online graduates are invited to Brown's May commencement ceremony as well. And then a virtual commencement ceremony is offered as well. Mel, do you want to talk a little bit more about what these students can expect in regards to community and peer engagement?
Yeah, In addition to that asynchronous format, you do have an optional synchronous session once a week. So that allows you to kind of engage with your peers, your lecturers, have those live discussions, even networking opportunities. So being that we will kind of have like this very diverse student body, you can have these discussions and actually have different perspectives being shared as well. So that kind of creates community. And then, as Chloe mentioned, you're always welcome to visit the Brown campus. So definitely feel free to visit anytime you're in the area.
Yeah, let me add on to that too. I think that's an excellent question, and that's the kind of question you want to ask of any program. One of the things that distinguishes an education at Brown versus peer institutions is our Sheridan Center for Teaching and Learning. And what that means is all of the courses that we create are done in partnership with an express organization whose mission is to make sure that the content is delivered as effectively as it can be, both live and online, whether that be synchronously or asynchronously. So we work hand in glove with our course developers to make sure that embedded into the structure and the design of the course are opportunities to not just consume content and respond to questions or discussion groups, but really engage in a meaningful way with the cohort. That's why you have these weekly sessions. Now, there is a responsibility of folks that are in the program to actually come, but we do record those for people who can't make it. But one of the hallmarks of the programs that I've had the good fortune of leading is every week getting people together online and really talking about what it is we're learning, how we can apply it in the workplace. And you'd be surprised. I think we've learned a lot since the pandemic in terms of building an effective community online, and DLD, as we call them, our Sheridan Center, is really great at helping with that.
Great, thank you. Another question, what leadership theories or frameworks form the backbone of the program? Ed, I feel like you're going to be the perfect person to answer this question.
Great question. Well, I would say there's no one theory in particular that we say, well, we're about situational leadership, or we're about adaptive leadership, or we're about authentic leadership. Our intent is in our initial class to really give people an immersion into the 12 or 13 or 14 or so leadership theories that are out there, so that people have an understanding of what path goal dependency is, leader member exchange, all those kinds of things. And what you find is people tend to amalgamate a leadership style. While there are specific leadership styles, and we talk about those as well, they tend to pull together the different aspects of the theories to, I would say, an approach that works for them. In a more contemporary sense, we probably see authentic leadership just as what's kind of de rigueur today. That being said, the expectation is that each student would create their own repertoire of what works for them, understanding what it means to be an ethical leader, to be a change-driven leader, to understand what the elements of business and organizational transformation are. So we don't adhere to one saying everybody's going to come out of here dipped in adaptive leadership. That's not the intent. But what we want to do is make sure you get initially a broad perspective of the theories that are available, find out which of those kind of fit with you and the things that you're trying to accomplish as a leader. That's why it's so important to be clear on what your career goals. So if you say, I really want to focus on being more of a servant leader, there's an opportunity for you to do that and actually apply it in a setting that works for you. But, as is traditionally the case with Brown in 1967, we went to an open curriculum where the students who are undergrads at Brown get an opportunity to essentially take whatever courses they want. So our pedagogy is such that we want people to choose the theories and approaches that work for them from the suite that we're offering them. And obviously, as faculty, and we have coaches that'll be working with us as well, our job is to help you apply those in a way that's most effective for you.
Great, thank you, Ed. Another question is, can you describe what you envision the typical applicant will be here in terms of professional experience, and what sector or job they will go into post-program? And will most people be full-time? I will say that I feel like there is no typical applicant for this program. I do expect most people to be full-time, and also work time. This is also, it goes hand in hand with that professional experience. But there is no typical applicant, I would say. Mel, Ed, hop in here. What do you think would be terms of professional experience, and what sector or job they would go into post-program?
Yeah, I'll take a crack at that. I wouldn't say we have a profile of a candidate who needs to look exactly like this. I think in keeping with our view at the University and Journal, we want a diverse range of students in the program because that's where you get the best perspectives, right? People who work, different genders, different religions, different races, different, I work in a for-profit or not. I mean, we want to have a program of diverse people. We would like people to have at least 3 years of work experience so you could put an organization into context when we have those discussions. But I think it would be unfair to say, well, there's a specific profile of the person that we're looking for. Similarly, I don't think we can prescribe, here's the kind of job you're going to get at the end. Leadership is by definition broad in nature, and I would argue that it's applicable almost in any setting. I mean, from managing one's and leading one's self to leading within organizations. So part of our mandate as part of the program is to really help you figure out those things. And it's not uncommon for people that come into our programs to, as they reflect on their life and their work, to think about, maybe I'd like to do something a little different. And we're here for that too.
Great. Another question that we have is, does this master's lead to a PhD usually? And I wish we had a better answer for this question, but there is no usual when it comes to this program, as this is the first cohort. But I feel like this could be a great pathway for a PhD student. Ed, Mel, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, Mel, if you want to go ahead, you're welcome to go.
Yeah, I was just gonna kind of echo Chloe. Pretty much you will gain those skills to be a effective and strategic leader in the program. So of course there will be PhD programs that may suit you, but right now we don't have a PhD track for this particular program.
No, it's the School of Professional Studies does not at this time confer doctoral level degrees. Most of the programs that we have master's degrees for are professional programs, so they're intended for working professionals. Now, that isn't to say that someone couldn't go on to get use this as a stepping stone to a doctoral degree, but it doesn't specifically prepare someone for doctoral work. It can be a component of a CV and an application for that, but it is intended to be a standalone degree for someone who is looking for a sort of last degree in this area.
Great. All right, we just have one more question, and then I think we should be able to wrap up. And Ed, I feel like this is going to be a great question for you again. You have all the answers.
I don't know about that.
So how were the curriculum and course content developed, and were practitioners or industry experts involved in the design?
So great question. I think there's a couple of dimensions to this. One is we've certainly benchmarked other leadership degrees out there. There's many schools that, I should say many, there are quite a few schools that have these, I'll say Master of Leadership type degrees, Master of Strategic Leadership, Strategy and Management, those kinds of degrees. So we looked at comparable programs to understand what are some of the core elements of them. But on top of that, we made it unique to Brown. So myself and colleagues and our faculty put together a committee to kind of look at and say, what are some of the things that we want to teach? We intend to broaden that over time to add even more courses. But the core courses we have now, we think are reflective of both a good understanding of what the marketplace is putting together for degrees, but more importantly, what a Brown degree will look like.
Great, thank you. So I think that is all of the questions that we had come in. Again, feel free to email us any additional questions that you have at onlinemasters_admissions@brown.edu and set up an appointment with your graduate recruitment coordinator, our wonderful Melanie Dew. And the link is on your screen, and I'm pretty sure it is in the chat as well. But thank you all for taking time out of your afternoon, out of your morning, depending on where you are, to spend it with us and learn a little bit more about this new online master's program. I hope it was very informative for all of you, and I definitely encourage all of you to fill out your applications and so we can get those to the committee. But thank you again, everyone, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Take care.
Thank you.
Everyone.